I took that photograph 11 years ago. And ever since then, I've had a front row seat in the environmental movement, the environmental conversation here in the United States and on the global scale. And what I'm here to tell you today is I'm tired. I'm tired of the obsessive focus on plastic, especially individual consumption of plastic. Earnest conversations about plastic straws, individual consumption of plastic bags, plastic cups, while we keep right on with the phones and the laptops and the TVs and the helicopters and the 747s and the furniture and the skyscrapers and the cars and the jet flights. I'm tired of going to environmental conferences where we talk about solutions and everybody there flew there on a 747 and afterwards it's sushi for 500 people. I'm tired of for-profit eco-entrepreneurs offering eco-products that aren't. All of those products that contain metal all have a mining footprint. I just learned that term in Chile when I was there recently. The mining footprint of a single gold ring is 40,000 pounds of dust, a pile of 40,000 pounds of toxic dust that is sitting on a hillside somewhere in Chile, and it's going to be leaching cadmium and mercury and arsenic into the soil for thousands of years. I'm tired of hearing all of the bad news exaggerated because we think that's the right thing to do. I'm tired of the term catastrophe, disaster, and especially apocalypse. The term climate apocalypse is irresponsible. Apocalypse is a term that refers to a biblical myth of the destruction of all life on Earth by fire. Climate change is not an apocalypse. There is not a looming apocalypse. It's a serious long-term problem that needs our deepest, wisest attention. I'm tired of people telling me I should be frightened. I'm tired of the meme, if you aren't terrified, you aren't paying attention. How many times have we heard that? From scientists now, and from journalists. I'm really tired of people advocating for panic. When we're in a state of fear, we know from neuroscience that our mind shuts down. And panic is an acute state of terror, of trauma, that incapacitates the mind and the body. There's never a time when panic is the appropriate response to any situation. If you wake up in the middle of the night and your house is on fire, panic is the worst possible response. The proper response in that circumstance is equanimity, full mind intelligence, backed by wisdom, with appropriate level of concern. That's what we need, not only if our house is burning down, but to face a global problem like climate change or any environmental issue. Anyone who is advocating for panic is being irresponsible. We've been stuck in a very dark, energetically dark story about what's happening to our world for a long time, and it isn't working. The solutions are not happening at the scale of the problems. In fact, they're going the other way. It's not 11:59 and 59.999 seconds. We're all going to live our lives, and all of the problems are going to continue for thousands of years more if humanity survives that long. I'm tired of this message of horrible, dark, frightening, terrifying urgency that does not motivate people to change. I'm tired of the entire weight of changing things on a global scale falling on the shoulders of each individual, especially young people in school. Here's a metaphor that I love, is imagine a parent with a 6-year-old boy. And the parent, with the best of intentions, wants to have the 6-year-old boy play piano, learn to play piano. You'll thank me later, that parent is thinking. Takes the kids to piano lessons, but the little boy doesn't like practicing. So he doesn't practice. And the parent gets a little bossy about it, and the kid still doesn't practice. And it escalates until, after a long time, the parent is yelling at his little boy in an abusive tone, emotionally abusive. And the little guy is cowering in the corner in a state of paralysis. That's where we are together. It's time to change the story. Here's what I want to do. I want to go to that little guy. I want to kneel down, take his little hand, and say, dude, I got us tickets to a Herbie Hancock concert. Let's go immerse ourselves in the transformational, healing power of beauty. Who hasn't stood in the presence of beauty and had their heart break open with joy? Beauty and love go together. They're identical twins. Find one of them and the other one will immediately show up. One of my favorite poets, the Celtic philosopher John O'Donohue, says, of all times, why turn toward beauty right now? He gives 2 reasons. 1, because we're desperate and we're willing to try anything. 2, because maybe the fact that we turned away from beauty is how we got ourselves into this mess in the first place. Every living being, whether it's a plant or an animal at any scale, is an incomprehensibly complex and magnificent artwork created by the universe, created by God. This image is from a series I'm working on right now that I call Second Growth. It's forests that have been cut in the past, and now with loving stewardship, the cathedral is returning. Here's a scene that I stood in front of with the owner of this piece of property, and he said, this is an out-of-control thicket that needs to be mowed. And I look at it and I thought, that's what I see is a fractal explosion of gorgeousness that looks to me like a Monet painting. Every leaf, every branch is a magical, mysterious, emerging, spiraling math equation, emerging out of the darkness, emerging out of nothing. One of the fundamental characteristics of beauty is the more you look for it, the more you see. The more you cultivate beauty, the more appears before you. Here's a gorgeous old grandmother standing in the forest, and as you walk toward her, you see a spider condominium. When you get all the way up close, there she is on the upper left, the goddess in her palace of jewels. Every detail of the living world speaks to us in the sacred language of beauty. Here's a flight of geese flying through the wildfire smoke near Point Reyes, California. And it's a moment where I want to clarify something. I'm not advocating turning away from the problems. I'm not advocating living in denial of the problems. We can't take our foot off this accelerator pedal. All I'm advocating is we need to change our relationship to each other about those problems. The problems themselves require our continued laser focus, more focus. But without the dark ball of catastrophic, frightening, terrifying energy that carries with it disempowerment and disrespect. When somebody uses the word climate apocalypse, they're trying to scare you. They don't want to be scared, but they think that you will respond if you are scared. Laser focus on the problems, and we can develop the ability to stand in a balanced place, to stand midway between the problems and hold the miracle that we are all a part of. Bring in beauty as an essential ingredient in the healing and transformation of our world. We all have that capacity. I had the good fortune to spend 2 months earlier this year in the spring in the American desert. And what an experience of seeing life re-emerge from the soil and come forth in the trees. Beholding the female form of Mother Earth, welcoming me home to her wildness. That's Monument Valley from a remote point in Bears Ears National Monument. Well, that giant screen is so badass. I just returned 2 days ago from several weeks at 14,000 feet in the Atacama Desert in Chile. I've been working on a new documentary film there. It's top secret, I can't tell you anything about it, but the title is going to be Flamingo. It's the most amazing place, this incredibly austere and magical environment. And there in the ripping cold and freezing temperatures and incredible dryness are these magical, elegant, graceful, beautiful beings. They stand in this really shallow water, and at night the lake freezes and the flamingos literally freeze into the ice. They can't move until the next morning when the sun comes up and they have to wait for the ice to melt again. So here's my bottom line. I'm going all in on beauty. I'm all in. I think it's time for the art world, for the environmental world, for the whole world to let this dark storm of impending apocalypse, disaster, catastrophe, terror, panic, let it move on through. It's time for an adult conversation about how to solve our problems. I don't mean that as a diss on any young activist. I mean it as a diss on us adults who are supposed to be showing them what it looks like to be mature leaders who have wisdom. Let us each connect with the ocean of love that we all carry inside of us for the incomprehensibly amazing miracle that we are all a part of in every moment of our lives. Let us make beauty a cultural priority. Let us make beauty the North Star that we collectively set our compass to and navigate by, that will always carry us home to our deepest essence. In that space, let us together step across a threshold into a new, beautiful, connected, loving story of our world and our future. There's nothing standing in the way. May it be so. Cheers and thank you.